first area of learning I'll discuss is holism. This might not sound like a perspective that is even relevant to anything managerial or business in nature, but believe me, it has its relevancies. Humanism is a concept of life, and any great business needs to have a moral scope. In idealism, a concept which coincides with its slogan and stands by it. Holism is a pragmatic perspective which is absolutely in direct correlation to humanism. Holism declares the imperative and instinctive relevance and existence of human connectedness. This regards environment and spirituality, or rather, human energy. A whole cannot be discerned without discerning its parts, as well as recognizing the inevitability of the whole of the parted sum to be one, connected. This concept, this ideal, should be applied to assess and cope with learners' needs. You cannot teach or learn if you don't care, if you don't recognize the importance and existence of human connectedness. Number 2, metacognition. Cognition is the thinking about thinking, whilst metacognition encompasses this projection, but it also refers to the knowing about knowing. It is human instinct to think, thus so it is to know. It is in perceptive thought where the power of human thought lies. A leader must know and note the importance of having reflective thinking workers in its workforce. These processes lead to problem solving, self-management skills, thus a sufficient speaking, operating, and living workforce. Thirdly, there is information processing model, which has to do with the cognitivist perspective. This perspective notes the way in which the human brain processes information. We as human beings don't comprehend, process information via conditioned responses. In fact, conditioned responses are most times in direct correlation to perception. We process information, and it is within those processes that perception is incumbent. It is not an initial reaction. Seen as the attaining and retaining of information is vital to human functioning, it is imperative that those of you in managerial positions understand the mental processes of the human brain. Association deals with the behaviorist perspective. Association regards associative learning, which regards episodic memory. Episodic memory is the part of the brain which recognizes events throughout our lives. Associative learning ascertains those episodic memories, and then 1, 2, or 3 memories are associated in the mind to some type of learning process. A leader of a company, managerial group, or a group of workers must note the imperative nature of inciting associative learning opportunities, especially when it comes to teaching trainees. Reinforcement. Providing positive reinforcement for behavior which conforms to the skills training arena is imperative to inspiring self-motivating factors, if done in moderation. This reinforcement should not be presented as more important than the worker's task. It should show appreciation and pride from the leader. The reinforcement can be in the form of some inanimate object or edifying language. This all depends on the person's learning style. It is important to assess the learning styles of the individuals in the workforce. One must never forget that these workers are human beings, as we all are. Thus, the holistic approach is positioned at the top of this list. Holism, groupthink. Using a groupthink situation to strengthen problem-solving skills within a company will shape leaders and or create leaders within the company. Noting the importance of human connectedness through a groupthink situation by having the very success of the completion of a skill within a workshop will convey the company's values towards communication, while subliminally conveying a humanistic tone of caring for the worker, and the workers caring for one another. It strengthens the workforce, which in turn strengthens the business's productivity. Metacognition. The knowing about knowing aspect of the human mind is a vital function to competently completing tasks and encumbering skills. The goal here is to incite metacognitive processes. Discussion sessions, interactionism, role-playing, where workers are put in the position of customer or manager, is a perfect way to incite critical thought. The key here is the reflective process as it regards metacognition. The role-playing should be enacted with a specific problem to solve. The problem should inspire a range of emotions, emotions such as empathy, compassion, and yes, even frustration. The way a person performs under pressure is critical to sufficient performance of skills. Within this role-playing process, the manager should also participate by playing the role of worker and the worker as employer. This will allow ample opportunity for the manager to ascertain the learner needs and learner styles of the workers. Information processing model provides another golden opportunity for managers to observe workers' learning needs. In this model, the message implemented will be the purpose of the task, the way in which to do it, and the importance of combining the skills learned using episodic memories. The manager should also be required to survey the workers before and after the process in order to gather empirical data with the specific motive of learning the workers' learner needs, and also collective data for future references, such as new trainee groups. The manager will also be required to research self-determination theory, schema theory, holism, and Gardner's multiple intelligence perspective. All of this will give the manager an idea of how to cope with the diverse pool of workers, learner styles, and behaviorism. Understanding of such facts will allow for the correctness and sufficiency when it comes to positioning workers where they are at their highest potential. Association, in this instance, will be garnered from the perspective of associative learning. The workers will be given a worksheet. The worksheet will have questions where they will be asked about the skills they have learned over, let us say, the past 2 to 3 weeks. Within the tone of these questions will be instances of incitements, or rather questions poised in a manner that will no doubt encumber the critical thoughts about 2 separate events, where 2 different skills were taught. One dealing with the groupthink situation, dealing with either the problem-solving role-playing scenario or the task performance situation. This will allow a manager to identify a person's strong suits based on the perspectives they provide. Fear of rejection should be projected as not up for consideration by the manager, letting the works feel comfortable coming out of the workers, answering the questions honestly. This will allow the process of identifying those with leadership potential to be uncorrupted by emotions which corrupt social and intellectual truths about the worker. And lastly, there is reinforcement. Reinforcement should be considered a delicate process to the manager because with any wrong move or acknowledgement, the theory of extinction as it pertains to positive response to stimuli or reinforcement, then the whole process of training becomes futile and a liability to the company. The manager must create a reasonable draft of how and when to allocate positive reinforcements after and only after the learning styles of the trainees have been ascertained. This document should be created upon a scheduled template. The intervals should be moderate and not excessive, and don't necessarily have to include some monetary or inanimate kind of reward. Some people learn and are motivated well with words of encouragement being the positive reinforcement. Thus my projections of the imperativeness of conducting and constructing the assessments of learning styles and emotional intelligence of the learners/trainees. Why is learning theory important to organizations? Well, it is important to apply learning theory to training in an organizational setting because the way in which any person learns determines perception, self-efficacy, motivation to learn, leadership skills, communication skills, and lastly, problem-solving skills, all qualities needed to run a productive business. The reason why my strategy is important because it considers a diverse field of human existence. It not only considers human empathy, but mandates the ascertainment of learning styles and emotional intelligence. It has all of the aspects needed to ensure the staying power of any business in any business industry.